Every morning, when the alarm sounds, you aren't just opening your eyes, you are making a choice to master your own life or to let the world outside tear your mind to pieces. 99% of people choose to reach for their phones, surrendering themselves as slaves to headlines and comparisons before they even brush their teeth. Stop living like a passenger on your own journey. The first 30 minutes of your day are not meant for getting ready for work. That is when you decide whether your mind will be your weapon or your chains. Welcome, fellow seekers of serenity. I am not here to lecture you or teach you how to live a perfect life. I am here because I was once just like you, waking up with a heavy head, letting the vague anxieties of yesterday swallow a beautiful morning whole. Stoic philosophy is not empty theory gathering dust in libraries. It is a legacy written in the blood, sweat, and tears of those who endured the ultimate adversity. This morning, join me as we go over 10 principles to discipline your mind before 8 a.m. Let this be an honest conversation. And if you are ready to reclaim your control, drop your very first declaration in the comments right now. I wake up with purpose. 10 Stoic rules for morning peace before 8 a.m. 1. Today is yours, do not let anyone consume it. Every morning when you wake up, the universe deposits exactly 24 brand new hours into your account. No one can withdraw a single second from it, and no one can live it for you. Yet, we so carelessly throw away this priceless asset. As the philosopher Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Look at how the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius began his day. He was not an idle philosopher staring at the clouds. He was the ruler of a vast empire, waking up in a cold military tent, facing the Antonine Plague, devastating his lands, and the constant threat of betrayal from his own generals. Yet every single morning he reminded himself, "Today, I must go to work as a human being, not as a slave to comfort." Do not touch your phone for the first 30 minutes. The moment your feet touch the floor, take a deep breath and tell yourself, "Today is mine. I own it." 2. Your first thoughts shape the lens through which you see the world. Look at life through tinted black glasses, and the world appears as a burning fire. Look through a clear lens, and everything reveals itself simply as events taking place. The philosopher Epictetus was born a slave. His master broke his leg, leaving him in a state of absolute deprivation. Yet he left behind a thought that shook the foundations of history. People are disturbed not by things, but by the principles and notions which they form concerning things. If a man who once wore iron chains could master his own mind, what is stopping you? When you wake up thinking, "Today is going to be another terrible day," you have already lost before your feet even hit the floor. Learn to catch those toxic thoughts before they manipulate you. 3. Leave yesterday behind. The past is a tomb. Have you ever woken up with last night's argument still replaying in your mind, or tormented yourself over a mistake from a week ago? We carry a backpack weighed down with the heavy stones of yesterday, and then complain about how exhausting the road ahead feels. Steve Jobs, the man who revolutionized global technology, was fired at age 30 from the very company he founded. It was a cold, devastating blow that could have crushed anyone. But instead of living in bitterness, he viewed it as the most liberating period to start fresh with Next and Pixar. He refused to let yesterday define today. Extract the lesson from the past, and then shut that door. The past is dead. Stop trying to breathe life into a corpse. Write down whatever regret you are clinging to on a small piece of paper, crumple it up, and throw it in the trash. Tell yourself, it is done. Now belongs to the present. 4. Master your mind before meeting the world. Your mind is like a clean, quiet room in the morning. But the moment you open social media, You fling open the door for thousands of strangers to rush in, litter, and scream inside that space. The Stoics practiced a powerful technique known as the discipline of assent, the practice of selective consent. Not every thought or stimulus that enters your mind deserves your attention. When you receive a harsh email or a provocative message at 7 a.m., pause for just 3 seconds. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If it isn't, smile and let it pass right by. 5. Eat the live frog. First thing in the morning, start strong, end in peace. The great writer Mark Twain once left us a classic piece of wisdom. If it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first. That frog represents your hardest, most daunting task, the very thing you want to avoid most, the moment you wake up. Most people choose to shove the frog aside and chew on softer things instead, scrolling through news, checking trivial emails, doing mindless chores. But do you realize what happens? That frog sits right there in your mind all day long, draining your mental energy and breeding a quiet, lingering anxiety. General George Washington, who led the Continental Army through the freezing winters at Valley Forge to win American independence, never pushed tough matters off to the afternoon. He chose to confront the grimmest battlefield reports and life-or-death decisions the moment dawn broke. His courage did not come from an absence of fear, but from the habit of swallowing the hardest frog first. Stoic philosophy does not teach you to evade pain or trouble. It teaches you to attack it. When you resolve your toughest task first, you do not merely complete a goal. You create a massive surge of momentum. The rest of your day becomes a walk in the park, because the worst thing that could happen has already been consumed. So, every night before you sleep, identify the single frog waiting for you tomorrow. In the morning, tackle it within your first 60 minutes of work, no negotiations. 6. Act now. Procrastination is a silent killer. Procrastination never appears as a terrifying monster. It arrives like an intimate friend, whispering in your ear, "You can do it a bit later," or "just 5 more minutes of rest." And suddenly, a bit later becomes never. General George S. Patton of the U.S. Army famously said, "A good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan next week." Anxiety can only survive in an environment of inaction. The sole way to destroy fear and self-doubt is to plunge into action. You don't need to see the entire staircase, you just need to take that very first step. Apply the 5-second rule. Whenever you feel the urge to delay a task, like waking up early or exercising, count backward 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move immediately. Give your brain zero opportunity to negotiate. 7. Focus creates energy. Distraction drains it. Many people complain that they lack the energy to get work done, but the truth is, their energy is constantly leaking through dozens of holes created by distraction. Doing one task while eyeing another, their minds already wandering to the weekend. Thomas Edison left behind over 1,000 patents, not because he was 1,000 times smarter than everyone else, but because he possessed the rare ability to freeze the world around him and exist entirely within a single experiment at a time. He called this the power of absolute single-tasking. When you brew your morning coffee, just brew coffee. When you read a book, just read the book. Being 100% present in every single moment will recharge you with a deep, vibrant well of energy that no energy drink could ever replicate. 8. Accumulate small wins. We are often obsessed with spectacular transformations, becoming a millionaire overnight or losing 20 pounds in a single month. But the Stoics knew that true greatness is forged from the most ordinary details. U.S. Navy Admiral William H. McRaven once delivered a globally acclaimed address with a simple message: if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. A neatly folded blanket at 6:30 a.m. gives you a small sense of pride. It confirms a fundamental truth: you are a person of discipline. And that tiny victory will set off a chain reaction of wins throughout the rest of your day. 9. Discipline is not a cage. Discipline is freedom. Fake freedom is eating whatever you crave, sleeping whenever you please, and living at the mercy of impulsive emotions. And what is the ultimate price of that kind of freedom? A sick body, an empty bank account, and a mind weighed down by regret. Legendary marathoner Eliud Kipchoge, the first human to run a marathon in under 2 hours, lives an extraordinarily minimalist and rigorously disciplined life at his training camp in Kenya. He once shared, "Only the disciplined ones in life are free. If you are undisciplined, you are a slave to your moods and a slave to your passions. When you practice discipline from the moment you wake up, you liberate yourself from anxiety, rush, and the heavy burden of evening guilt." 10. You are the chief architect of your own day. After all is said and done, no one has an obligation to save your day, not your boss, not your partner, and no miracle is going to appear. When the philosopher Emperor Marcus Aurelius faced the betrayal of Avidius Cassius, his most trusted general, he did not wallow in self-pity or curse his fate. Instead, he reminded himself that he retained complete control over his own response, knowing that no external event could harm his soul unless he permitted it to do so. The blank canvas of today is resting on your desk. The pen is firmly in your hand. Will you paint a masterpiece of deliberate action, or will you let others stain it with their frustrations? The power of choice, as it has always been, remains entirely yours. These 10 rules are not a magic formula that will transform your life overnight. They are a daily practice, a quiet war fought every single morning between the disciplined self and the lazy self within you. I am just like you. I have days of victory and days of defeat. But what matters is that tomorrow, when the sun rises, we are granted another opportunity to begin again. If this video brought a moment of quiet or clarity to your mind this morning, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It is the simplest way to help the algorithm carry these messages of peace to those who need them out there. Before you go, leave a brief comment below as a promise to yourself. I am the author of my day. Thank you for walking this path with me. I wish you a day of strength and tranquility. I will see you on the journey ahead.